Okay, guys, we've made it to episode 20 of our beard advice series. Stay tuned for it. Hey guys, Brian Haywood here. Welcome back to my Beards and Banjos YouTube channel where we discuss tips and tricks for your beards. We do some product reviews and unboxings, and we also have this beard advice series where you guys can send in a couple of pictures to the email address you see below. I take a look at it for a couple weeks. You get featured in your own beard advice series video like we're doing today. And today we've got James. Most of you guys probably know him by his last name, as that's what it goes by on Instagram, YouTube stuff. It's Hennessy. So this is Mr. Hennessy here. He's a good member of the bearded community. He's been around a long time, like myself. If you take a look at James, he's got kind of the shorter beard, all right, with the bald head. Looks great. Give him a few ideas here on what he can do to maybe polish up the look without going shorter. You can actually, it kind of depends on how you want to do this. James said his wife likes it kind of short and all one length, the polished look kind of thing, or nice and neat, I think he said. Well, you can have it nice and neat and have parts of it longer than the other. So that's what I'm going to get into, give him a couple options there. Maybe he can kind of sneak it by with his wife so he can have part of his beard being longer than the other parts. But if you think about it, you know, with your hair, if you buzz your hair, it looks okay at all the same length when it's really short, but once it gets to a certain point, you start doing things like making it shorter around the edges and that kind of thing. So that's what I want to talk about here with James's shape there of his beard. And then also he's kind of at a transition stage here on these pictures where he's just getting to the length where you can do things like using the blow dryer and using particular styling tools and products to kind of help polish the look even more. So let's talk about that idea with I want to talk about tapering the top of this and letting the bottom of that stay nice and full and possibly go just a little bit longer, just kind of fill everything out. And I think that would actually come into play from what the length I see here, just maybe even playing with what you've got right now. Or waiting a couple of weeks, maybe less than a month, I think you could kind of get this particular look. So the idea here is we're going to lower the cheek line just a hair to polish that up and get it kind of even with your lip line. And then we'll talk about the tapering stuff in just a minute, and then letting the bottom fill out just a hair more. And it may just could come down to styling routine. You don't really have to have it much longer than what I see in this picture, but you need to start playing around with the hair dryer and a very small round brush. And it can be one this one's just got the plastic bristles, but it can be a boar's hair one as well because it'll catch the hair more. And then maybe a boar's hair brush on the sides as well to start kind of taming it down and getting everything to be a little more uniform, a little more of the polished look. And also James has some waves there on the side with the military brush, can help that with the hair dryer, going back and locking it in using balm, and then also the tapering. So I'll put a link here to my morning routine that I did. It was been over a month ago. My beard was quite a bit shorter at that point. But the idea is when you got the blow dryer out, I know it's awkward if you haven't used the blow dryer before, but get a good blow dryer. Maybe your wife has one that's got the cold shot on it and got 2 speed, it's got multi speeds and multi heat and all that kind of stuff. I usually use high heat, low speed, and then everything in the bottom, you pull it forward. So if you've got that round brush, you pull it forward, and then at the very end, you kind of try to curl it under. So what you're basically doing is your jawline, instead of being where it is, you're kind of moving it down a little bit. You're trying to get kind of a smooth platform just down a little bit lower. So by lowering the cheek line just a little bit and then letting that fill in at the bottom more and not trimming that off, you'll be able to kind of create a nice little shelf there where you can use that to trim by instead of putting guards on and trimming everything the same length. Okay, so work with that. Okay, just kind of, you're poofing it out here a little bit, bringing everything forward and really seeing what kind of length you have to work with. And then once you do that, you might see some unevenness, and that's where you start kind of trimming it like a hedge on the bottom. You're kind of creating lines instead of using a guard against your skin. All right, so you end up kind of creating these nice lines, and then you've got some options with if you want it more rounded or more square look. If you look back at who did we do last week? Beard Strong 08 Kenny. I had a little bit more of a box on the front, a little bit more square. Everything you've got looks round and it looks good, but maybe back here on the back, you could either go more rounded or you could go just a little bit more square. And I think probably a hybrid, not going one way or the other too much on that, that back line, that back angle, have it just slightly rounded would probably be the best look for you. And then when you're doing the blow dryer routine, the last thing you do is kind of the military brush on the sides to try to get to those waves a little bit, and then you kind of use your hand to pat it down and hit that cold shot while you're doing that, and it kind of locks everything in. You put on some balm and you try to train it up a little bit. But also one thing that's going to help some of the waves on the sides is really getting a good taper. So instead of taking that clip and with the guard on it and going over your whole beard and having everything the same length, you want the stuff down here to be longer, and then up here you want to fade this in, and that's really going to probably make you and your wife happy because everything up here is going to stay nice and neat. You're not going to have any poofiness in this particular area. All right, so I did a couple of videos on that. I've got one that's like advanced tapering ideas. So you can go back and take a look at that, or if you go to the barber to have this done, you can just tell them you want to taper everything in right here. Maybe show them some of the pictures here that I'm going to show you. There's going to way, you can go to an extreme taper where there's like almost nothing up here and it grows back over a couple of weeks. I don't really suggest that, but there's all different levels of it, and just for me to kind of show you and the other guys who's watching what I'm talking about. But maybe this one's a pretty good taper because if you'll notice, he's got some waves on it, but at the top it's short enough that it's kind of alleviating some of those waves. So it's really short at the top, gets longer and longer, and then the longest part's right underneath your jaw going towards your goatee area. So you can also keep your mustache nice and trim like you've got it, and then the areas right here on the sides, you can keep that shorter as well because that's kind of part of your taper. Okay, so you're keeping the part like above this line pretty short and then getting longer as you go. All right, so that would be my suggestion for where you can kind of polish your look, start working on the routine with the blow dryer. It can still be nice and neat without it all being one length and really, really short. All right, so you still have some options to keep a nice manicured, shorter beard style. I'm not suggesting you go long or as long as me or anything else, but basically what you've got on this picture is probably enough to be able to start doing all of that stuff I mentioned. If not, 2 to 3 weeks after what the growth I see on this, I think it would really you would really be able to do some more detailed work with your grooming routine and get a nice, neat, polished look. All right, and then once again up there at the top where you're going to your bald head there, you can also go to a point. It looks like on this one you've kind of messed around with the point, but now it's kind of square across there. I kind of like the just kind of extending that cheek line back down to a point, and then that's going to be part of your fade as well when you do the tapering stuff to the top of your beard. All right, so messing around with that. Don't be afraid to try the blow dryer. I know it's kind of awkward when you do that, and then that round brush, just pull everything forward and then curl down. Everything forward and then curl down. Okay, and that'll start to kind of get a little bit more length in here. You get everything kind of to lay down a little bit with the hair dryer, the cold shot, the balm, and let's see if you like it. See if your wife likes it. I think if you show her a couple of these pictures with the guys with the taper at the top and it still has a little bit of length at the bottom, that's kind of a nice, neat, polished look that a lot of guys go for these days. So let me know what she says about that. So thanks for watching. Stay tuned.